So I will say distinguished guests, colleagues, partners, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, I am happy to welcome you to the August 2025 presentation of the National Human Rights Commission dashboard. Of course, this presentation is a moment to reflect, to recalibrate, and renew our commitment to a Nigeria where every heartbeat carries the promise of dignity. Today, we are not just sharing data. We are reigniting a conversation, a movement, a shared dream of justice that echoes across our 36 states of Nigeria and far, far beyond. Today, we present our determined efforts through the protection of human rights of forcibly displaced persons through information, data collection, and documentation in Nigeria, which is an initiative spotlighting the plight of internally displaced persons, returnees and refugees, and asylum seekers, which we have tracked from May to July 2025. As we gather today, let us pause to acknowledge the resilience of Nigerian people. In the face of economic pressures, social disruptions, and security challenges, your voices continue to reach us. Your reports, and you resist, and you remind us that human rights are not abstract ideals, but the very fabric of our national life. In August, the Commission stood as a beacon of hope for 365,224 voices who entrusted us with their stories of struggle for enjoyment of human rights. These complaints received across our 38 collection points in Nigeria reveal a nation at a crossroad. The data speaks loudly, spotlighting three critical areas: freedom from discrimination, economic, social, and cultural rights, and then law enforcement and human dignity. These are not mere statistics. They are the pulse of a people yearning for fairness, justice, and respect. Our observatory's findings amplify this urgency, documenting incidents of human rights violations across all the geopolitical zones. The Northwest, particularly Zamfara and Katsina, bore the brunt of banditry with mass killings, like the tragic loss of 50 worshippers in Katsina Mosque and the abduction of 45 in Zamfara, Bakura. In urban centers like FCT and Kwara, mob justice surged, with lynchings over theft and blasphemy allegations, reflecting a crisis of trust in law enforcement. The observatory also highlights a distressing rise in violations against vulnerable groups. Sexual and gender-based violence targeted minors, with harrowing cases of rape against girls as young as 2 in Ekiti and 7 in Ondo. Benue and FCT reported deadly farmer-herder clashes, while land disputes fueled killings in Ebonyi. Suicides in Osun and Imo, linked to financial and academic stress, signal an urgent need for mental health support. These trends paint a stark picture, yet they also galvanize us to act, to strengthen child protection laws, reform policing with transparency tools, and address land tenure to curb communal violence. They call for dialogues that celebrates our diversity as strength, not division. Law enforcement must lift, not oppress the citizenry, to restore faith in those who serve. We must amplify anti-discrimination laws through education and enforcement, ensuring no Nigerian is judged by tribe, faith, gender, orientation, or other differentiating factors. This dashboard challenges us to bring policy and practice, urging government at all levels to prioritize economic, social, and cultural rights in budget allocations and implementation. Ladies and gentlemen, the state of vulnerable population in Nigeria should be of great concern to governments at federal, state, and local levels. Our dashboard on human rights and internal displacements reveal humanitarian crises of immense proportion. Multiple factors such as raging conflicts, banditry, and climate disasters have thrown up internal displacements impacting on human rights of poor and already traumatized populations. Our engagement with Community Protection Action Group members in projects documented 8,966 displacements between May to July and a cumulative of 53,261 from February to July. These are not just May numbers. They represent Nigerians who have been exposed to multiple human rights violations impacting on their dignity and humanity. The National Human Rights Commission, with the support of our partners, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, have also documented rising incidences of numbers of populations of returnees and refugees across our project sites. Between the months of May and July, there were a total of 10,710 returnees to communities, 5,191 refugees, and 2,275 asylum seekers in the same period. These populations of persons in motion, returnees, refugees, and asylum seekers represent individuals in their highest forms of vulnerability and exposure to human rights violations. The NHRC continues to call on relevant stakeholders, including governments, humanitarian organizations, to make provisions for the full enjoyment of human rights for these populations of concern. Our Constitution, as well as our regional and international human rights obligations, enjoins us to protect the human rights of all without discrimination, based on status or origins. We should walk the talk. As we engage with these dashboards, I call on all stakeholders, government, private sector, civil society, and citizens to act decisively. Let us commit to the National Action Plan on the promotion and protection of human rights, strengthening early warning systems, strengthening referral systems, scaling digital reporting tools, and fostering multi-sectoral dialogues. Our observatory's robust tracking, coupled with increasing trends in resolved cases, shows progress is possible. Let us build on this by expanding community custodians in hotspots like the Northwest and youth-led forums in the Southeast. Ladies and gentlemen, these dashboards continue to serve as our compass. They point us to work for a Nigeria where no one is left behind, where discrimination fades, opportunities flourish, and dignity is non-negotiable. I call on all stakeholders to support our vision, real-time alerts, nationwide response, and policies that breathe life into the lived experience of every Nigerian. Together, let's strive to write a new chapter, one where this dashboard doesn't just count complaints, but celebrates solutions. Lastly, let me also take this opportunity to thank our state offices, partners and civil society allies, and all those contributions continue to make this work possible. We also extend our appreciation to the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, the United Nations Development Programme, and Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights for their support to the National Human Rights Commission. I want to thank you, and may Nigeria rise in justice and unity. Thanks for coming.
Help stakeholders involve programming for durable and sustainable solutions for these mandated populations, specifically IDPs, refugees, asylum seekers, and returnees. Our presentation outline would go this way. We will try to look at objective of our presentation. We walk you through drivers of displacement across the project states in 11 states. Suffice it to say that the project is taking place in 11 states. We are deploying 105 Community Protection Action Group members who are resident in these states, and we are working specifically in 3 local governments, making it a total of 33 local governments in 11 states. We also deploy 102 human rights monitors who are staff of the Commission that work with Community Protection Action Group members who work by way of being present at the local governments to bring up violations and trigger them up to human rights monitors who will cascade this through what we call referral pathways to bring succor to our people for durable solutions. So we try to look also at gender and household desegregation of IDPs, total number of asylum seekers, refugees, and returnees, total number of gender desegregation for IDPs, refugees, and returnees, and asylum seekers. We also look at total number of children, IDP children, refugee children, asylum seekers, and returnees. Then we look at human rights incidents recorded generally in the 11 states. And of course, we also bring up human rights incidents managed and referred. Like I did say, we have referral pathway through which we send up these human rights violations, abuses to be managed. Then having done that, we present to you culminating presentation of the dashboard A. The A we deal specifically with IDPs, while the second dashboard is speaking to asylum seekers, refugees, and returnees. So by way of objective, I did say it is to specifically highlight information and data for this second dashboard on protection of forcibly displaced persons through information, data collection, and documentation in Nigeria. Now, what are the drivers under the present scope now, between May and July specifically, that deals with what we are doing? So you can see the issue of insurgency activities for Adamawa is still there. For Akwa Ibom, you have communal clashes, boundary disputes, and flooding. Benue, farmers, herders, communal clashes. Benue has been on front burner for all the wrong reasons. By the time we start unpacking the numbers, we see specifically that Benue is very much on the high. Borno, we still have insurgency activity. Record that from 2009, insurgency activities have been holding sway in Borno State, and it's quite unremitting and unabated. So you have flooding and secondary displacement, those who have been displaced and being displaced again because they are searching for survival and livelihood. Cross River, you have communal violence and flooding. Kano, insecurity also. Katsina, you have insecurity, Sokoto, banditry, farmers, herders clash. Sokoto, armed banditry, kidnapping, Taraba, ethnic violence, farmers, herders. clash. As we unpack the data and figures, you will notice that Taraba has unwholesome, unsalutary numbers across all the thematic issue areas. Yobe, you have herders, farmers, class and conflict, insurgency activity and flooding, and of course, Zamfara, insecurity, armed banditry, kidnapping and flooding. Now, let's look quickly at the numbers across the states for IDPs. For Adamawa, we have 558 for the 3 months. Cross River, 635. Katsina, 2,085. Kano, 2,101. Borno, 3,624. Yobe, 5,044. Sokoto, 6,869. Taraba, 7,584. Zamfara, 8,713. And of course, Benue with the most humongous number of 16,048. Recall that around June, specifically 12 or 13 June this year, there was this incident of displacement in Yewata in Guma, local government in Benue State. So I guess it has continued to go up. Benue is the elephant in the room. Now let's look at these figures disaggregated through gender for all the states. So for Adamawa, we have, please kindly note that our legend description for this is the male is blue, female is orange, then ash is household. So for Adamawa, you have 225 males. Female is 333. For household, you have 132. Benue, we have 7,876 males, 8,172 females, and 3,254 household. For Borno, you have 1,621 male, 2,003 female, and 866 household. For Cross River, you have 312 male, 323 females, and 92 household. For Kano, 950 male, 1,151 female, 273 household. For Katsina, you have 1,079 male, 1,006 female, 232 household. For Sokoto, you have 3,233 male, 3,636 female, and 323 household. For Taraba, you have 3,612 male, 3,972 female, and 1,169 household. For Yobe, you have 2,392 male, 2,652 female, and 376 household. For Zamfara, you have 3,812 male, 4,901 female, and 317 household. In total, we have 25,112 male, 28,149 females, and 7,034 household in all. Now, let's look at how these figures pan out for asylum seekers, refugees, and returnees. So, for the figures you are seeing here, this is where we have these numbers for from May to July. For asylum seekers specifically, we are able to have figures for Cross River and Adamawa, 139. For Cross River, for Adamawa, 333. And for Taraba, we have 1,803. In total, we have 2,775. For refugees, we have in Kano 3, Borno 86, Adamawa 469, Akwa-Ibom 673, Cross River 684, Taraba 3,272. In total, we have 5,191 refugees. Now, for those who return, we have for Cross River 424, so Kano 456, Adamawa 871, Katsina 2,191, Yobe 3,265, Taraba we have 3,503. In total, we have 10,710. Now, let's look at how these come out. Total gender desegregation for IDPs, refugees, asylum seekers, and returnees for between May and July. So for IDPs, you have, for males, you have 25,112. For asylum seekers, for male, you have 753. For refugees, you have 777. For returnees, you have 2,973. In all, for males, for all the populations, we have 29,815. For females, IDPs, you have 28,149. For asylum seekers, you have 657, sorry. Refugees, you have 962. Returnees, 3,015. In all, you will have for females 32,783 for all the mandated populations. Now let's look at children. Children specifically are brought up because of their vulnerability. So for IDP children disaggregated across the project states, for Adamawa you have 286, for Cross River you have 396, for Borno you have 896, for Katsina you have 929, for Kano 1,165, for Yobe 2,189, for Taraba 2,631, for Sokoto you have 2,790, for Zamfara you have 7,105, and of course for Benue, as the elephant in the room, you have 7,340. In total we have 25,727 children for all the mandated population. So for asylum seekers, for Cross River, you have 68, Adamawa 143, Taraba 629, total is 840. For refugees, we didn't record any in Kano, 5 for Borno, 194 in Adamawa, 4111 in Akwa Ibom, 471 in Cross River, 1,332 in Taraba, with a total of 22,413. For returnees, for Kano, we recorded 214, Cross River 272, Adamawa 421, Katsina 1,206, Taraba 1,297, Yobe 1,390. In total, we have 4,620. 1,697 households. For a key informant interview also to get information as to violations and the challenges they are having by way of talking to individuals, we're able to do 5 in Cross River and reach 56 individuals, 22 in Katsina, 113 interviews, 19 in Zamfara, 157, 19 also in Taraba, 179, 82 in Yobe, 266, a total of 147 and 701 people were reached. In the process of our work, we also involved in detention monitoring. The essence of going to the detention facilities is to find out whether these people we are working for with the UNHCR are being detained in whatever manner. And if they are being detained, are they detained according to international human rights law and, of course, the Constitution of Nigeria. So we were able to do in Zamfara 3 visits and 2 people were found to be detained. In Katsina, 49 and 27 were found to be detained. 5 visits and 37 were found to be detained in Adamawa. 24 and 56 were found to be detained. 5 and in Taraba and 78 were reached. 37 in Benue and 83 were reached. 58 in Yobe and 127 were reached in detention. A total of 181 and 510 were reached during this period. So within this slide now, we try to do a comparative analysis of what the numbers we had from February to April when we did our first dashboard, and the numbers that we are having now, to see whether they are up or they are decreasing. In other words, try to use our February to April dashboard as a baseline. Now, for IDPs, we try to compare numbers in January, from February to April, when we did our first presentation. We found out that what we had was 44,995 IDPs. However, during this period, from May to July, cumulatively, we were able to have 53,261. So the growth ratio, as far as we are concerned, is about 8,966, and of course 20% increment, which is very, very high. So for households, we found out that from February to April, we were able to have 5,953 households. However, from May to July, we have 7,034 households. The growth value there is 1,000, thank you. 1,000, thank you. 81 household, and of course 18.2% growth, which is still very high. Now, let's look at children IDPs. From February to April, we had 20,648 children. However, between May and July, we have been able to record 25,727. So the growth value here is 5,079, and of course the percentage value is 24.6, which also very, very high within this period. For asylum seekers, refugees, and returnees, let's quickly look at what the numbers tell us. For April, we have 8,826. However, between May and July, we have 10,710. We have a growth value of 486 and percentage of 27. For refugees, February to April, we have 5,612. Between May and July, we have 5,191. For growth value cumulatively, we have 421, and in percentage, we have under now, less than 8%. For returnees, between February to April, we have 789. However, between May and July, we have 2,775 cumulatively. So the growth value here is 1,184, and of course the percentage increase is 21. Yes, sir. Given from what we have systematically, specifically brought up from all the slides now. So our dashboard for May to July 2025 on the IDP documentation and information data collection in Nigeria, we look as follows now. Cumulatively, we have 53,261 IDPs. We are also able to visit 7,034 households. For children, we are able to have 25,727. For male IDPs, we have 25,112, and of course, 28,149 IDPs. The other figures of how we have been able to manage that I've told you, we are able to manage incidents, human rights incidents that we met in the field. 920 were managed, 3,342 were referred. In all, we have 4,562. We also have been able to disaggregate information pertaining to IDPs in terms of gender and children. So, no need repeating the numbers. I've said this in one of the slides. Gender and household disaggregation, I've also said this. For dashboard 2, we are speaking to asylum seekers, refugees, returnees. So we have 2,772 between May to July for asylum seekers. For refugees, we have 5,191. For returnees, we have 10,710. Community engagement by way of awareness creation, household interview, and key informant discussions, we have total of 471 awareness raising sessions, and we are able to reach 10,259. For household interviews, we are able to have 215, and we are able to reach 1,669. For key informant interviews, we are able to have 147 sessions, and of course, we reach 771. Yes, sir, I present to the public the dashboard on human rights and internal displacement for May to July 2025. We thank UNHCR for the support for this project. Thank you for listening. God bless Nigeria.